I'm ready.
All right.
We're here.
Hello, everyone, for episode number
Four?
Four. I think it's four.
We are
Again,
only four in and we can't remember the
every
number.
episode, this is the most professional interview show on the internet. Welcome back to Let's Talk. I'm Eli.
I'm Kylie.
Chester is joining us today.
Chester's here today. He'll probably disappear eventually.
And today we have a very special guest. If you would like to introduce yourself.
Okay. Oh, hello. Thanks for inviting me. My name is On Takahashi. Yeah, from Irodori Comics. Yeah, Irodori Comics is a doujinshi publisher. We work directly with artists to publish their works throughout the world. Yeah, happy to be here.
Yeah, thanks for coming on.
Yeah,
We're
thank you.
happy to have you. We approached you a little while ago because I came across your website when I was looking for other like types of Japanese media and the ways in which they get translated, and I was never really necessarily that big into doujinshi when I was younger or anything, but I came across your site and I was like, that is definitely a like niche thing that I don't know if there was any sort of official English translation process for previously when I was growing up. So I was like, hey, this seems like a perfect different type of translation that we could discuss on the show.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You came across our I'm assuming you came across like our hentai comics site.
I think so.
Okay.
I think it was just the main Irodori Comics website.
IrodoriComics.com. Okay. Yeah, we have two websites, so like sometimes like people stumble into our Irodori Lite website, which is safe for work, non-erotic stuff. Most people come to the porn stuff. Yeah. Oh, you said this is like number 4 of your show. Like, is this some sort of like ongoing series kind of thing?
Yeah. So basically, every episode we try to have a different person who is involved in some capacity with the translation of Japanese. Not necessarily exclusively to English, but just so far it has been English.
Yeah.
The first episode was with a group of fan subtitlers for the Yokai Watch franchise of anime.
Yeah.
The second one was with a guy who's a YouTuber who also does video game translation, like as a profession in Japan. And the third one was with the director and producer of the recently released documentary Queer Japan. So basically
that's
just
cool.
different types of media and like how translation differs between them, the histories of those media, those types of things.
Okay. Oh, that's really interesting. Yeah. I mean, right now I'm involved in publishing and mostly doujinshi, but like my original background is video games, so video game localization. Yeah. So yeah, it's always interesting to be kind of involved in Japanese media, and selling it to the world kind of thing. Yeah. Oh, cool.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, that's awesome.
So, go.
I was just gonna say that just like ties in even better with like what we're discussing here and like just having those kinds of talks.
Yeah, exactly.
Kind of bridging the two together, the two different mediums, I suppose.
Yeah, for sure. So, I guess to start off, we should clarify for anyone who doesn't know. Could you describe for us what doujin or doujinshi are in I guess simple terms for English viewers?
Yeah. Okay. So there's this kind of misconception. Misconception going around, but people often imagine doujinshi to be often porn, right? Porn, hentai works, and parodies, right? Kind of fan fiction of existing IP. Yeah. The actual definition of doujinshi, well, the kanji doujin means same people. It refers to a collection of people with similar interests, kind of like a passion group kind of thing, like fans of, say, Naruto or fans of Demon Slayer. Yeah. So like a group of people, group of like ardent fans. Yeah. The last character that comes after Doujin defines what type of medium it is. So like Doujinshi, she uses a kanji for paper. So Doujinshi refers to comic books. Right? It could be a novel as well. Yeah. You can also have Doujin music, which is indie music, and Doujin games, like self-published games. Yeah. The more like colloquial definition of Doujin will be, I think, kind of indie or self-published. That would be the more that would be the I think definition people are most likely to understand. Kind of like indie game devs situation. Yeah.
And a lot of growing up, like maybe 10 or 15 years ago, a lot of my exposure to that term was through, like you were talking about, fan releases of pre-existing IPs, but that's not necessarily like the entire scope of Doujin, right?
Yeah. Um, the fan, yeah, the fan made kind of the existing IP. What we call them parody works, right? Parody works were simply easy to bring over, right? Because the IPs already have an existing fan base, right? So scanlation groups when they first brought over doujinshi to the West, you'd much rather translate something that's already popular than going for original doujinshi with, possibly like zero interest. Yeah, so it was easier to bring over some famous like let's say like One Piece doujinshi or Naruto doujinshi to target an audience that's already kind of there. Yeah, who just wanted to see like a R18 version of their favorite characters.
And that's probably also where the misconception about a lot of it being hentai comes from, right? Because a lot of authors who create fan works of pre-existing IPs do use them for the purposes of making hentai, right?
Yeah, I mean, in a lot of Western culture, doujinshi is also almost synonymous with hentai. Yeah, um, like good or bad, like that's what it is. Yeah. Um, However, in Japan, the uh, the balance between original works and parody works, it's actually 50-50. Yeah. So there's 50% parody and 50% original works, and the share of original works is slowly increasing. Yeah. Probably especially more so in the next 5 years. I think there's probably going to be a clear difference in the increase in originals. Yeah. A lot of IP holders are starting to crack down on parody doujinshi. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
Okay. So you think because are they like how does that work in Japan? Are they like issuing cease and desists, or are they actually like suing people, or
They're not going the aggressive route at the moment. A lot of it's kind of like behind the scenes, like word of mouth, like hey, so and so, like one of the big publishers are very dissatisfied with seeing parody works, especially like R18 parody works of their content. And then when that spreads among the authors, they go, oh, okay, maybe we ought to like hold back on releasing those kind of stuff and so on. Yeah, yeah. And
It's kind of funny, like the way you're describing it. We have experience doing anime conventions, like participating in Artist Alley in anime conventions here, and the way you're talking about how like fan art with having a pre-existing fan base, fan art in an anime convention usually sells.
yes.
Like that was
Yes.
something that we discussed when we were still doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And how original art can be a lot more difficult. And that's something that we discussed with other artists who also participated. So it's interesting to see like the similar correlation about how that pre-existing IP exists. Of course, with conventions here, like that often became a thing that they were cracking down on as well, where it was like your table could only be 50% fan art, the rest had to be original or something like that.
Right.
And there were certain creators too who I guess they were more in tune with the fan art community because what they were creating was more online. So and there were certain creators who would outright say on their websites, basically, you can make fan art, but please don't sell it.
Yes.
Or
yes.
we might,
I remember that.
you know, not necessarily we might go after you, but like, it's not kosher.
We'll find you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's honestly really tricky recently. I mean it's a bit of a long explanation. But yeah, as I said before, like parody is popular not just for like the fandom, but also for the artists because specifically because the audience is already there, right? For new authors who have never actually released a work before, instead of creating like this original story that could potentially be hit or miss, right? They could they could use existing characters, and maybe even pair up the most popular ship or something, right? And then there's bound to be some sort of audience already there. Yeah. As long as your story isn't way out there, if you pick kind of like okay the popular pairing, the kind of the steamy situation we all envisioned, if you get that kind of work out there, it's probably gonna do pretty well, right? It's gonna be received, yeah, well. And a lot of doujinshi authors, started from parody works, right? And not just like commercially, but sometimes they just wanted to draw porn of their favorite characters.
Yeah,
It started out as a passion, and then it's probably started out as like individual illustrations, like okay, one page at a time, and then it slowly turned into the manga format, and then it eventually became a book. They printed it, they sold it, and so on. Yeah, but the IP holders are kind of cracking down on it, and in the case of here's the big part, like in Western cultures, especially like in a country like America, the rule of law is what's written, what's stated, right? Like if something isn't written, it doesn't apply. Yeah. In Japan, a lot of guidelines, a lot of rules. There are so many unspoken rules. Yeah. So when a big company like shows their dissatisfaction, it's not necessarily like recorded somewhere, you know.
Oh.
Right. Okay.
But all the people who need to know. Yeah.
That is
So
that totally makes sense. Like for Japanese culture. Like
it's
that
very, very Japanese, yeah.
very
Yeah.
Japanese.
Yeah.
That would
Yeah.
not be like stated, but like everybody understands.
Yeah.
Like this
So,
is the way
like,
it is now.
Yeah. Like Japan doesn't have a fair use policy.
Right. Right.
Right. So like in America, like whenever this parody stuff comes up, they're like, oh no, like America, we have freedom, we have fair use. Japan doesn't have that. Yeah. So you're literally on the whim of the IP holder. If they say, nah, you can't do it, you can't do it. Yeah. And yeah, that's why like copyright strikes on YouTube videos in Japan tend to be like a lot harsher. Even like the slightest infringement, like bam, you're out. Like whereas in America, like a lot of YouTube content creators can often like fight against the ruling, but in Japan, like some content creators like tread very, very carefully as to what might accidentally end up on their video. Yeah. So like this whole like those who know kind of thing. It's led to a lot of platforms, distribution platforms. So right now, people can buy doujinshi on the internet through like various big stores. These big stores have made it very difficult to sell parody works.
Oh, so
Yeah.
they've made it so it's pretty much only possible to sell originals, right?
Not to that extent, but let's say for example, like you log in, you access like website X, right? In the past, they might have had like banners for like, hey, like you want to check out the newest, Sailor Moon doujinshi, click here. Pretty much most banners regarding parody content are now gone. Yeah. It's mostly originals, and this actually really affects consumer behavior, right? Like when we access websites like Amazon and so on, and we see like the top selling ranking, like we assume that information to be like factually correct, right? So oh, everyone's buying this, everyone's buying this. So like okay, well if everyone's buying that, I should start buying this. Yeah. So like websites have started to like change people's like consumption patterns. Yeah, like shifting it away from consuming parody works to buying more original works. Yeah, so if you like rewind the clock like 10 years ago, a top 100 doujinshi work of that year, parody works would have, been in there. A lot of parody works would have made it in there. Right now, if you go to like one of the biggest doujinshi websites, Fanza, dmm.com, and you access their top 100 like hentai list for 2020 or 2019, you can probably count the number of parody works in maybe one hand.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's like completely flipped.
Yeah,
It's a
it's flipped it.
monumental shift towards original works. Yeah. And there are also now like well, it's not even a rumor. Some stores have already started implementing a parody tax. Yeah, all of this happens on the back end, so consumers don't really know. But like, an artist releases a parody work, and then the consumer buys it, and then in end of each month they get a sales report, and then like subtracted like parody tax. They're like, hey, what's this? And then they contact the store. It's like, oh, this is like the parody tax that the IP holder requested. Yeah, and so we paid it to them. Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
so the stores pay the IP holders
The
for.
permission to use the said IP in the doujinshi. Yeah.
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah. And this is really tricky because the artist wasn't notified of said tax because it's not an official tax, right? It's not some legal tax. It's like a private agreement between company A and company B. Yeah. And the problem is like if the artist was to then go on Twitter, and like blast the IP holder, it's like, hey, these guys took like 20% of my income through a tax, blah blah blah. Legally, they are in the wrong. Yeah, and so it's just yeah. So if the IP holder goes, okay, that's fine. We're gonna sue you. That's it.
Because
Oh,
you're using our
man.
IP.
Yeah.
That's some crap for the artists. Like,
Yeah.
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 oh,
It's a very rock and a hard place kind of situation.
yeah, seriously.
So right now there's been a lot of shift. Like a lot of artists have realized like, okay, like I can't really make and sell parody products. So they're kind of slowly going towards releasing original works. Yeah. But at the same time there are some big IP holders and publishers who have recognized the value of parody works and have made it open, right? For example, you guys know Fate?
Yeah.
Yeah. Tight Moon, the guys who manage Fate, straight up said, yeah, sure, you guys can make, doujinshi content with our IP. Yeah. There's another series called Azure Lane. It's owned by a Chinese company. Azure Lane has also made their works, parody approved. Yeah. And obviously Toho is probably one of the most famous examples of, being doujinshi free. Yeah.
Yeah. That makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah. And at the same time, there are contents like, Evangelion recently, I think maybe a month ago, yeah, wrote guidelines, posted guidelines on their website of how, like, what people are allowed and not allowed to do with their content. Yeah. And one of the things they listed was you can't make you can't make content to sell commercially.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they also listed that you can't make lewd content of our works.
Oh, well, that's basically everything, isn't it?
Yeah. But yeah, one of the most like popular hentai doujinshi authors for Evangelion related works, Mogudan, the very like a couple of hours after Evangelion's announcement, he tweeted like, I will never like, hey, sorry guys, like because of Evangelion's new guidelines, I won't be releasing any more works.
Oh wow. Yeah.
Yeah, and this is tricky. It's really really tricky. For some folks out there, it's like, oh, this is like censorship. It goes against creative freedom, blah blah blah. And at the same time, a lot of, especially for big IP, it's a preemptive defense. Yeah, an IP as big as Evangelion is, contrary to popular belief, it is the most well-known anime IP in Japan.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That makes total sense.
Yeah, like Demon Slayer is popular in the past couple of years, but it's not going to dethrone Evangelion in terms of awareness. Yeah, like Evangelion, like people in their 60s know what Evangelion is, right?
Right.
So like whenever
It's like the big
so
boy.
yeah, and same as like Nintendo, as a company. Nintendo is one of those companies where doujinshi authors like keep very clear from, you know.
That makes
Yeah.
sense.
Especially like Pokemon, like on Twitter, it's easy to find Pokemon like the main character, the girls like lewd art, blah blah blah. But there's often this like unspoken rule, like for the first 6 months, don't do anything Pokemon. When Pokemon releases a game, like steer clear for the first 6 months.
Oh wow.
Yeah, that's kind of Nintendo has gone after doujinshi authors in the past when their doujinshi release date and the release of the game was too close. Yeah. Yeah, and this is most of the time it's due to like SEO optimization and just like overlapping of searches, right?
Right.
Nintendo's products primarily cater towards younger audiences, right?
Yeah.
The last thing they want is for like like some kid to like go on their smartphone and like type in like I don't know like Fire Emblem and then come up with like a whole bunch of doujinshi R18 doujinshi. Yeah. That's often what they want to avoid. Yeah, so it's not so much like we're out here to screw over fan artists. It's more like we're trying to protect the image of our IP. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and that's in keeping with Nintendo because it's not exactly the same situation, but a few years ago they shut down that it was a remake project of I think it was Metroid 2
Oh
and
yeah.
they shut it down and then within like a year or two they released their own remake of Metroid 2 and when it was first shut down, I think they hadn't announced their remake yet. So a lot of people were
Yeah.
like, "Oh, it's just Nintendo being Nintendo." But
Yeah.
then once the remake was announced, it was like, "Oh, they're trying to sell a
Yeah.
product and trying to not have
Yeah.
their thunder
Um
stolen basically."
um uh if you have an opportunity to work in a Japanese company, you'll quickly find out the horizontal communication between departments is pretty much non-existent. Yeah. So like the legal department that handles like takedowns, and then like the creative the game dev department that makes the games. Often there's no communication between those two departments.
Oh,
Really? I
I
didn't know
So
that.
see.
like I would assume that the team like making Mother probably didn't even know they shut down the thing from the legal side, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and also like uh it's a little bit different like in I mean this kind of diverts a little bit away from manga in general, but in America, like CEOs are based on their, CEOs have their salaries and everything based on their performances, right? Yeah, hence like hype culture or announcing something is really, really important. Yeah, even like in gaming conventions like E3, they bring all the big news, you know, close to E3 and try to hype things up as much as possible. In Japan, like a lot of CEOs don't really have that performance-based bonus. Yeah, they're kind of on a tenure with a fixed salary. Yeah, so their release announcements and so on aren't necessarily like at the peak moment of hype, but they might do it out in dribbles to consistently like increase the share price because every announcement leads to like some change in the share price, and their performances are based on that. Yeah, so the CEO tries to kind of like spread out this the announcement releases. Yeah, so it's often like based on that, they don't really announce things way too early. Yeah, probably more close. Yeah, and then just to make sure like at the end of each quarter, like it ends on a good note. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. Right. So it's more like a Japanese company culture kind of thing rather. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So why do you think that doujinshi, in the form that it exists and in the form that it has existed, why do you think that something like that specifically came from Japan? And in on the same token, how do you think that doujinshi compare with independent comics from other countries? Do you think that they're like a completely separate thing, or do they have a lot of similarities?
Ah, okay. Yeah, yeah, that's a question about manga. Uh, Currently, like, we're seeing more and more publishers rise up and, start to publish more Japanese works overseas. But even with that, only a fraction of manga ever really make it overseas. You know, there's just so much manga in Japan. Like the scope of the manga industry is so big, and it's actually like way, way, way bigger than what a lot of foreigners kind of see. You know, if you access like like animenewsnetwork.com and like you're keeping up to with all the info, like you think you know what's being released. You think you know like, oh yeah, I know everything about all the manga that's out there, but the information there is just a small fraction of the real amount of manga that's constantly being pumped out in Japan. Because a lot of big like news outlets don't really cover conventions like Comic-E, where you have like thousands of people twice a year, really, bringing in all the new manga, all the new doujinshi, and so on. And so pretty much the scope of the manga industry is massive. And
So that's like you're
yeah,
talking like smaller like releases with stuff from
well,
conventions or
the thing about like what what in right now like in the Western scene, what we consider as manga is entertainment manga, fiction entertainment manga. In Japan, like a lot of the top selling mangas aren't necessarily even fiction stories,
Oh,
right?
really?
A very popular manga that released a couple of years ago was it was a manga between a younger sister and her older brother in like I don't know just starting work in the in the corporate world. It was a manga on how to choose clothing as a single dude. Yeah.
what?
Yeah, like in America, you have those like something something for dummies series of books,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. In Japan, we have like that same like something something for dummies or something something 101. We have all of those books available in manga format.
Huh. So almost
Yeah.
like self-help books,
That's
sort of?
awesome.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And those sell really well. Like they're like manga as a medium is a cultural phenomenon. It's part of like Japanese people's DNA. Like you grow up in Japan, well, not just Japanese people, but anyone who's lived in Japan. If you grow up in Japan, like you cannot like kind of remove yourself away from manga or the format of manga, right? Because the usage of the panels and the usage of colors and you can convey so much information in manga format, right? It's a huge like accessibility thing too. Like anyone from a child to an elderly could understand like the format of manga and visually understand information. It goes through the language barriers as well. So actually, like in Japan, like a lot of like bureaucratic information, like pamphlets in the city halls, like a lot of those are in manga format.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So even like let's say like a visa immigration center where you have people from all over the world, going there instead of like translating it into like the major languages like okay English, Spanish, Chinese, they just have all the information visually. Go to number one, then go to number two, then hold your passport and give it to this person. Like that's all drawn in like cartoony manga format, and then suddenly like somebody from Nepal, could also understand. Yeah.
Right. I
Yeah.
mean, that
So
makes sense. Yeah.
It's like a universal language.
Yeah.
yeah. So in that way, like manga acts as a form of visual aid, right? And Japanese people, as the whole like education system, like a lot of it's very visual learning. Yeah, like I think in a lot of Western countries, it's like was it the kinesthetic learning or actually like, doing something is how you learn. But in Japan, like the whole thing is like okay, like take down notes what the teacher wrote on the blackboard. It's always been like that, and it's gonna continue being like that. Japanese people, as a people, are very visual, very much a visual learners. Yeah, so manga as a medium like accommodates that really, really well. Yeah. And
That
so
makes
because
sense
manga
too.
is available in like many different formats, as I said, like not just entertainment, but even non-fiction. Right now, even like autobiographies.
Oh
Oh,
my
really?
gosh.
Yeah, they have biographies of people in manga format, and I remember like I don't know if it's still in publication, but at one point there was like a Hitler manga.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
oh no, not Tezuka Osamu's
Oh, okay, not that one.
not Tezuka Osamu's, but like literally like how did Hitler rise to power, and then like in manga format, so it's easier for kids to understand.
Huh.
Yeah, like the weirdest manga book I ever came across was there was this terrorist um there was this terrorist group called the Om sect
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
in Japan. Yeah, killed a lot of people, but they had like a manga format of how that dude came to power, what his beliefs were, like all the heinous crimes that he committed,
Wow.
you know. And
Wow.
I was like, oh, what? Like, I never thought something like this would be in manga format, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, like, I mean, imagine in America, like, someone makes a comic book about, like a shooting or something. It feels like, wow, like, that's very, like, I wouldn't say tone deaf, but, like, that's so insensitive, blah, blah, blah. But in Japan, like, manga itself is used in a very educational way. Yeah. And
Yeah.
so,
I
yeah,
think if
also,
somebody did something like that in America, there would definitely be a debate about whether or not it was like
Okay.
tasteless
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
like glorifying it or something.
yeah. Because I think, like, at the end of the day, like, comic books is, like, bound to the confines of being entertainment, right? Whereas in Japan, like, it's literally a medium to convey information. Yeah. I mean, it's only it's only quite recently. I mean, pretty much the same with most of the world, but like, it's only during the Meiji period where like Japan's like literacy rate started to go up, among like farmers and so on. Like reading and writing was a thing that used to be exclusive to like the rich, the noble class, right? Yeah. So we have this like art format called kamishibai. Kamishibai is pretty much multiple like images, like kind of like a PowerPoint slide full of images, right? And behind each slide like is the narrative storytelling. So like you read the story behind the thing while changing slides. Yeah, it was like a old-fashioned PowerPoint presentation, and in Japan, like all parents like have kamishibai stories for their kids. Like kindergartens, have these like for storytelling time. Everyone sits down and listens to the teacher doing their kamishibai. Yeah, so this like format of like visual like cartoon plus story, the conveying of information has been like embedded as part of our DNA from a very young age. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And yeah. Oh yeah. So sorry for going on a tangent. So pretty much like because the manga industry is like far, far, far larger than what than our like window into it. Like the Western window into manga right now is restricted to entertainment, fictional entertainment manga. Yeah. Right. But the manga industry is like far bigger than that. Yeah. And so obviously when you have a massive industry, right, a huge successful commercial industry, right, you're bound to also get a big like underground indie scene of side of that industry, which is often proportionate to the scale of the industry. Yeah. So that's why like doujinshi is absolutely massive in Japan. Yeah. Anything that's not like the commercial side is what commercial publishers publish, right? And commercial publishers are businesses, so they tend to only release works that they are guaranteed will sell to some degree. Yeah. So people out there, kind of hobbyists, they have this work, but they're not sure if someone's gonna pick it up. Then they go through that doujinshi route and do it themselves. Yeah. And I think one thing that I guess separates doujinshi with I guess American indie comics is your scale and reputation as an author doesn't really matter too much when you want to start out. Like in America, like even let's say like in Twitter, you have your indie comic artists with like 100,000 followers, and you have your indie comic artists with like 2-digit followers, right? The 2-digit follower probably doesn't stand a chance, yeah, right. And then like sometimes you have these like, okay, like, oh yeah, there's this comic convention and this indie author was like invited to attend, but already the scale of that comic convention is pretty big. And
Right.
yeah, it's probably like America has what, New York Comic Con, you have like Comic San Diego, you have like all these big Comic Cons, and yeah, sure, like an indie author does have the opportunity to go there, but you have to already be you have to be an established author to kind of get there. Yeah. In Japan, we have many cons. Yeah, of course you have your biggest comic market, twice a year, which is huge. But there are so many local, like small level comic events that happen. Yeah, I mean weekly. Yeah, there's usually like some sort of comic convention going on each week in Japan. Yeah, and geographically, like Japan's like what, like I don't know, the size of, I don't know, like Florida, maybe smaller than that. Yeah, so travel within the country is like really easy. Yeah,
Right.
yeah, and we don't have a time zone within Japan, right? It's just literally straight. It goes, Japan goes like vertically up. Yeah, and
Yeah.
you can use the bullet train, whatever. So it's very accessible to go to a different prefecture to attend comic conventions. Yeah, so like an indie author who's just started out, literally like, okay, I have like 50 followers on Twitter, 48 of them are my friends. They have an opportunity. All right, I'm just gonna go to Tokyo, and I'm gonna go to this comic convention. Hey, maybe 100 people might come, but I'm still gonna go there and see what's gonna happen. What happens, right? Yeah. And so there are different conventions based on your status. Yeah. And that's what makes getting into doujinshi very, very accessible.
Okay.
I see.
Yeah.
Because you just basically start at the small ones to build your reputation.
Yeah,
And you just work your way up.
Yeah. And like, I mean, I'm not too familiar with the American like indie comic scene, but like in my like in my limited knowledge of it, it kind of feels like, okay, you're either like zero or it's New York Comic Con. Just I feels like there's not too many things in between, unless you have like a very successful Patreon campaign or some sort of online media presence. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't. I'm in the same boat. I don't have a lot of exposure to that.
Same.
But I've definitely I follow artists on Twitter, and I've definitely seen how like people talk about that as a smaller artist on Twitter, they can't get their work seen. They can't. They only get like 1 or 2 likes, and like no matter how much marketing they do, no matter how much they try to do outreach, it doesn't help. Because there are just these huge accounts that proliferate the entire market, basically.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of I wouldn't say concerning, but like, the umbrella for the category indie is so big, right? Like especially in like scenes like video games, right? You have a indie game with like a massive like multi-million-dollar budget and like 100-person dev team, and then you literally have like that dude in his garage, and they're both considered indie game devs.
Right.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
like as long as you don't fall under the banner of like
Triple
AAA,
A, yeah.
you're indie. It's like
Yeah.
one or the other.
Like in the case of doujinshi, like we don't separate the classification of indie, doujinshi artists and commercial artists based on the finances, right? Like in video games, like AAA is often like the category of AAA is often like the budget associated with it, like the brand name of the company behind it, the number of people in the dev teams. Like mangaka, at the end of the day, yes, sure, some of them might have assistants and so on, but it's kind of a one-person creation, right? It's like one artist behind one work.
Yeah.
So the like how to distinguish between commercial manga and doujinshi is literally, commercial manga is you're signed with a commercial publisher, and your works appear on a magazine. That's the definition of commercial mangaka, right? And everybody else, right, who releases works on their own are a doujinshi author. Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
Okay.
I can see
So
how
that's
that
why,
like the distinction of like indie wouldn't necessarily apply then.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
That
it's
sounds
not
like
like
it's a bit more clear.
financial status, or it's none of that. Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's pretty clear cut. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
And so because of that, it's kind of interesting. And one thing that makes doujinshi very accessible as a medium is doujinshi events are very, very different from commercial manga events. And because most doujinshi authors, are hobbyists, right? The very definition of doujin is, remember, like passion project, or like people who like-minded individuals is the definition of doujin. So most people have like a proper full-time job or like a part-time job. And a lot of doujinshi authors like draw manga on the side, right? Yeah. Like, there's this one like doujinshi author I know, like very, very, very successful doujinshi author. She still has a 9 to 5 job. Yeah. Yeah, she has a 9 to 5 job working in the office, and then like after work or in the weekends, she'd like work on her doujinshi, and then these doujinshi conventions in Japan, no matter how big, it's just one day. Yeah, and that's what makes it. Yeah, that's what makes it really accessible. Like something like a Comic Con, or San Diego or whatever, like, or Anime Expo. It's exhausting.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
is.
Yes.
Hey, like go here for 4 days. Like, yeah, sure, the opening times is from 9, but yeah, you got to go there and prep stuff. You got to go in there early. You leave when everyone else is gone, and a lot of people can't do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right,
It is
right.
exhausting. It's absolutely exhausting. The idea of only going for a day, just the idea of like not having to worry as much about like hotels.
And being able,
It-
like you said, being able to travel
Yeah.
within the one day without having to fly or
Yeah,
anything.
yeah, that too. Yeah, America's
Yeah.
a lot bigger, I
Yes.
guess.
I mean, yeah, you gotta. Yeah, I mean, if you want to go to like San Diego from New York, that's like crossing a different continent in
Yeah,
terms of distance,
yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the great thing about like something like an event like Comic Like like Comic it's like the biggest like comic event in the world. Um, Even with like something on the scale of Comic they don't have like special privileges for authors, right? Like no matter how big you are, let's say like hentai doujinshi for men is always on the third day. Parody doujinshi is always on the second day. Like boys love Yuri LGBT works is always on the first day. Like that's it. You can't. If you go on day one, most of the time you don't go on another day. Yeah. So like it's very accommodating. Yeah, and people can really plan ahead. Yeah.
That sounds
So,
so
like,
nice.
You can still make it just a one day thing if you're
Yeah.
only interested in one
Yeah.
thing, basically.
Right. So like let's say like okay, I'm a boys love author, right? I know I'm going to be on I know I'm going to be there on the first day. Like all the boys love works get sold on the first day, so it's easy for me to like, book a hotel room like months and months in advance.
Right.
Book a flight ticket months in advance, get printing stuff sorted out. Yeah. So it's very kind of like accessible, and you can just go there for a day. And the greatest thing about like comic conventions, you can leave whenever you want. Some popular authors, they go there, they sell out in like an hour and a half, and they just go home.
I see what you
Oh,
mean.
you mean like
Yeah.
the seller can? Oh, that's
Yeah.
That's completely
different.
Having
Yeah.
experience with doing Artist Alley, and that's
I always
yeah.
called it you have to remain in the dungeon.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because it's usually like
Yeah.
in the basement of some giant convention center. There's no,
Okay.
natural lighting down there whatsoever.
Wait, if I may ask, like, how much is it to attend an artist alley in like in America?
So it
it's-
depends.
We went to all different types.
Yeah.
We went to
So America does have smaller conventions.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
smaller anime. Well, we don't know about comic conventions.
yeah,
Uh-huh.
we only did like one comic convention that was a smaller
Yes.
one.
And that was a one day thing.
that was a one day.
That was a one day thing.
But I'm not aware of that happening, at least in our area, like on a weekly basis. Well, and especially now,
no,
but
sorry.
that's neither here nor there.
We would go. We went to some that were just like two days. They were very small, and then we went to at least one that was one of the biggest in our area.
Yeah.
It was 3 days, and it was like tens of thousands in attendance.
Yeah. So anywhere from like 1,000 to tens of thousands.
Yeah.
But I think the average price we paid for a table, like maybe between $100 and $200.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Some of the small ones could be as low as like 50.
Yeah. Now that
But those were outliers.
And that usually included your ticket to entry.
Yes.
Like it
Yeah.
usually included your badge. So you got a table and the badge.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you have to pay for the second person.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It just depends on the convention. But yeah, I would say between 1 and 200.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, so like Comic-Con, right? It's like $100, $120 to get a table at like the world's biggest you know, comic event.
That is actually
Yeah.
insane because
Yeah.
I know like the bigger it is, the more it costs.
Because I
Yeah.
think the
Here,
the
anyway.
really really big one that we went to, I don't want to name names. I'm not trying to talk trash.
The big boy.
But I think that one was like that was an outlier as well. I think that was like $250 maybe or something.
I think so, and
But-
I think we had to pay for an extra badge.
I think we had to pay for an extra badge, and that was the worst as far as we had to get there for the opening at like 10 a.m. and that one was open until I think 10 p.m. or 11 p.m.
It was open till midnight.
and we were expected. It was open till
It
midnight.
was open till midnight.
And we were expected to stay the
you
entire
had
time,
to stay
all 3
You
days.
could not. You could not leave your table
That-
unattended.
So we didn't
like-
go to the convention at all.
There were
Really?
definitely there were like times where another artist who was there on their own would be
Yeah.
like, "Can you please watch my table?" And be like,
Yeah.
"Yeah, go to the
I
bathroom."
gotta go pee.
Like, yeah, it's
Oh.
crazy. Like, woohoo, capitalism.
Yeah. Yeah, so like Comic is and like I mean just in like doujinshi like artists are very I don't want to say fickle in nature, but like they're kind of very moody at times. So like when something pisses them off, like they never go again, right?
yeah, okay.
Yeah, the event organizers are very, very understanding. A lot of the event organizers for Comic-Con, Comitia, and so on, like they come from like artist backgrounds as well. Yeah. So the way they organize, like, yeah, you can come. You know, like we hope you set your booth up like in time for opening. But hey, if you want to go out, you can go out. And sometimes like artists like straight up like write a piece of paper like on a piece of paper like, oh, like I'm going out for a walk, and then they just leave it there. Just have someone like manning their booth, and then so nobody takes anything, and then they just go out somewhere. I once went to like this event, and I saw like a really popular author just like having a cigarette, and I'm like, hey man, like he's an author we work with. I'm like, don't you have to be at your booth? It's like, oh, like I usually work at home, so I'm not used to people, and there's just so many people lining up, and I'm just tired seeing their faces.
I feel that on an emotional level. I will say for smaller cons, that is much more like acceptable. Not
Oh yeah.
not
yeah.
breaking down the table,
Yeah.
but like just
Stepping away.
and like saying be back and be back by this time or
Yeah.
something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, at that con, that big con, that was some
Woof.
insanity.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, like, yeah, cause like, I play some like smartphone games, and like, those smartphone games that like you can like request help to each other and like send stuff to each other. Like we were like in the middle of Comic-Con, and I received like so and so author has like requested help. I'm like, wait, isn't this guy supposed to be, selling stuff? And then I quickly message him like, hey, like, are you playing games like, during thing? He's like, oh yeah, like I just have like I hired volunteers to like sell my stuff today, so I'm just standing like a bit away from my table because I want to see who's buying my works, but I don't really want to be there to sell my.
Oh
I
my
like.
gosh.
I so get that though, because I'm an introvert, like 100%,
Yeah.
like an introvert,
Yeah.
and so like the idea of would they be mangaka? Like, is that?
Yeah. So commercial or doujinshi, everyone who makes manga is a mangaka.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just the idea of a mangaka being like, nah, I'm just like, I'm the artist, but I'll just like watch from afar.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
I relate to that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really interesting. Like sometimes, like I mean, obviously, as a publisher, we do English and like French language as well. Yeah, so whenever an artist like messages us, hey, like when I want to promote my work in English, like, could you send me like a template text I could copy and paste? I'm like, yeah, sure. And then like sometimes the artist's like, hey man, like, could you send me a template text in Japanese? Because I don't know how to use Twitter. Like, I don't want to interact with my fans.
Oh,
And I'm like,
no.
dude, like, like that's part of your job, it's like
Yeah.
selling yourself, Yeah. So like, that's another thing actually that's different between commercial and doujinshi. Like with commercial manga, like the mangaka like only has to focus on creating the work. It's the role of the publisher to then like sell it, market it, promote it, distribute it, and so on. With doujinshi, the mangaka bears all the risks, right? So you can have like an absolutely amazing work. If you don't know how to sell it, it might not sell at all.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Oh, that's tough.
It's like you
Yeah.
have to take on multiple other jobs that you wouldn't if you were getting
Yeah.
published commercially.
I mean, and like you give it to distributors and then they sell it. You have to do the taxes yourself, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
As a YouTuber, I can confirm that is a nightmare. So.
Yeah. Yeah, and you got to do taxes, and it's just yeah, and there have in the past been like really bad actors who kind of took advantage of the naiveness of a lot of artists, because a lot of these artists like come out straight from high school. They're really good at drawing, and then they have no like real life experience, and then they start selling, and then they don't know how to handle the finances, blah blah blah. Luckily, though, like in the past couple of years, like notable individuals in the within the doujinshi community have all come together to offer these various different services. So like there's a thing called like doujinshi tax, is a group of like kind of volunteers who help doujinshi authors with their tax filings.
Oh, that's
Oh,
cool.
that's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. So like I communicate with like a lot of these different people who are like helping out the doujinshi industry to make sure like no one's like taken advantage of. Yeah. And then like Irodori Comics is like the foreign publishing of that kind of thing, right? It's okay, like
Well, actually,
Irodori
that's a
Comics is like
good-
the verified trustable publisher.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That's probably a good segue to
Yeah.
discuss
Yeah.
what Irodori is.
Yeah, having
okay.
talked about doujinshi just in general, yeah, why don't we talk about the company that you're what is your official title? Is it CEO?
Yeah, I do run it. Yeah.
Okay. So your company, Irodori Comics, like how if it's okay for me to ask, how long has it been around?
Irodori Comics started September 2019.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's been like a year and a bit. Yeah.
Okay. And how has it like changed or grown in the year and a half ish since it was founded?
Yeah, we've grown a lot. Yeah, we're actually like biting off way more than we can chew. But yeah, um, we started with this kind of our company's slogan is Doujinshi for everybody. Yeah, and it's kind of like more like in its literal sense. It's like we want to bring many different kinds of doujinshi to we want to introduce many kinds of doujinshis to the world. Like before, I told you about that the whole like the self-help manga.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Like honestly, like a part of me wants to do those kind of works too.
Oh,
Like
that
some
would
of the
be
best
so cool.
doujinshi. Like there's this like really interesting doujinshi I read. Is it like ranks like smoking spots in Tokyo?
Oh.
So it's like this salary man who like travels all around Tokyo, and like he just like draws like rough sketches of like places he takes a cigarette break at. Yeah, and it's like I like to stand here and smoke because I get to enjoy the view of this.
Aw.
Yeah. And
Kind of love that.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's also
Self-help
like
is
even
like
like
a thing in America. So.
yeah. But like it's not often just like like that kind of self-help, but also kind of like ranking like like America has like Yelp.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, but there's a lot of doujinshi where like there's like a doujinshi book like okay, ranking the top 20 top 20 ramen restaurants of Hokkaido. And then like this mangaka would just like draw the entrance of the shop, draw in great detail the ramen itself, and then they'll have like arrows pointing to the different ingredients. And like, oh yeah, this is a very unique ingredient they put in. Like, it's a very visual guide in manga aesthetic.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
That I feel like that could be like really interesting as like a guidebook for people traveling to Japan.
Yeah, definitely.
Like you had like your little like guidebook. That would be
Yeah.
so cool.
Mhm.
Like one of the most beautiful doujinshi books like I've read is this doujinshi mangaka who draws like architecture of like fantasy-esque housing.
That's cool.
Imagine like a house in Skyrim or something, right?
Oh
Yeah, and he'd
yeah.
just draw like this is my vision of like a cottage in Skyrim, or like some sort of fantasy setting. And like,
Yeah.
Oh,
okay, so
that
this
sounds
is like in the
awesome.
woodlands, so the furniture is based like this, the color is like this. Okay, this is a futuresque like a sci-fi settings house. Like some of the things you have are like absolutely amazing. Yeah.
It's really, really
There's
cool.
there's a very famous doujinshi author called Yomu. Um, he has over 1 million followers, but Yomu sketches tights like stockings. Yeah, and it's just this amazing like genius level of art where the author can draw the different gradients of like the consistency of the tights in manga form. Yeah. So he
Wow.
draws like all of these different like ladies in tights, and then they just you can see clearly like okay, this one has like this percentage of oh god, what's the thing they use like not denim but like yeah uh like this is like 20% consistency, 50% consistency. Like
Oh,
how dark the stockings look. Yeah.
Right, 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 right.
yeah. Oh
So like
wow. That's
yeah, I mean
that's cool.
there's so many yeah books like that, and yeah, I mean I'd like to work on some of those like very niche obscure doujinshi. The
Yeah.
harsh reality though is that there's probably not a market for it
Yeah,
uh
I
That's
in
get
the
fair.
West,
that.
yeah. I mean, like a ranking book of ramen in a city in a foreign country, like, it's you gotta be a very keen collector to, try to buy that.
Yeah, yeah.
That is fair.
Well,
Yeah.
that being said, what do you publish mostly at this point?
Mm.
Okay, so right now, like, I mean, maybe 90%, maybe 95% of our works is hentai. Yeah. While hentai doujinshi is not the definition of hentai doujinshi, right? Like, there's that misconception existing, right? Um, hentai doujinshi is actually 50% of the market, right? 50% hentai, 50% non-hentai. Yeah. Um, but sex sells,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
sex sells, and like we're very happy to work with adult content.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, not a lot of publishers give it a chance. And so, there's a lot of authors who, who create absolutely amazing stuff. And yeah, so going back to the whole like doujinshi for everybody thing, when we first started Irodori Comics, like, and came up with that slogan, like, our vision was to publish like many different types of doujinshi, but also many different genres of doujinshi, especially within the hentai category. As a company, Irodori Comics is very data driven. We look at a lot of sales numbers. So we understand what works sell and what genres don't sell. Yeah, but it's precisely because well actually like Irodori Comics the people who run it it's not our full time job.
Okay.
We're all
Okay.
Oh.
doing it on the side. Yeah, so like we come from this place where we're like financially stable to do this. So like Irodori Comics itself is like a massive passion project.
Yeah,
And
Mm-hmm.
it's almost like you were talking about with Doujinshi mangaka who will have full-time jobs and then do it on the
yeah,
side.
yeah, pretty much that. Yeah, so like we want to support and we want to kind of introduce uh doujinshi culture overseas. Yeah. And so in order for us to do that, like we can't just keep publishing things that sell, right? Because if you only pick the cream of the crop, and say, "Hey guys, like this is doujinshi," it's not a fair representation of what doujinshi actually is. Yeah, so that's why like we even now like we pick you know we sign on authors that might not necessarily sell much. Uh authors that aren't very easy to market, and sometimes we publish authors at a loss.
Oh, okay.
Oh wow.
Yeah, like we take on the loss, but or like we barely recoup the localization costs.
Huh.
Um, but we're in it for the long game, you know. Like even yeah, sure, like this author's work probably probably won't sell so much, but like it's important for us to keep publishing these. Like it's important to like give it a chance. Like maybe hey, maybe there's like an American out there who's into this stuff, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and then if they recommend it to their friends and they buy it too, like that number would grow. And this is also another reason why we focus on originals. With parody works, the whole like existing IP stuff. Once the fever surrounding that IP is gone, it's gone,
Yeah.
Yes.
right? So for example, right now, what like rewind the clock, what 3 years, 4 years? Was it like Darling in the Franxx was like the like hot anime, right?
Mm.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I was like, oh yeah, like a lot of people were talking about Darling in the Franxx. Like it's unheard of today.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
It's all
yeah.
about
Like I.
it's all about Demon Slayer or
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Even like something like last year, like a Premiere.
Mm.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like nobody really talks about it now.
Yeah.
That's
Right.
true. I was
Yeah.
just thinking about that the other day because we have a Blu-ray copy of Premiere and I happened to see it. And I was
Right.
like, oh, I haven't seen like anything
About it. Yeah.
Yeah. So like what the one of the I guess the disadvantages of advantage and disadvantage is parody works are based on like how popular it is, right? Yeah. Obviously something like, One Piece or there's always going to be some IP like Hatsune Miku or something. That's always going to be there. Yeah. But those kind of like timeless IPs like Hatsune Miku and One Piece, like it's a lot harder to make doujinshi works of because the IP holders might interfere.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why like as Irodori Comics that we only publish original works. Because original works in our definition is also kind of timeless, right? You don't have to follow any particular IP. You can like come in and start reading it and get the same experience. You're not missing out whenever you start reading it. Yeah. Whereas like with parody doujinshi titles, like if you read it like 3 or 4 years later, like it might have lost its luster.
Yeah. That's with YouTube we call it evergreen content.
Mm-hmm.
Where basically that you can produce content that is like on that hype train, it's on the trend train. But once that's no longer trending, that content usually drops off, as opposed to developing content that people are going to be seeking out constantly, like year by year.
Right.
So I totally see where you're coming from with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like we have really good relationships with our authors, right? So like we've already conveyed to our authors like our very long-term plans, like about okay, like we're gonna like publish it now. Hey, like it might not sell much at first, but the consistency is to like keep releasing works, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And now that we have our own website, like every now and then like we can do like sales. Like we just had like a 1 week long Valentine's Day sale, right? So for all of like the romance related works, but like we kind of like I don't want to say dick around, but we have a lot of freedom in the kind of campaigns we do, and sometimes like the authors like pitch their ideas to us, So one of the authors like reached out and said, "Hey, like I have my birthday's in April, so like I want to have like a massive sale on my works. Can you guys do that?" It's like, "Yeah, sure."
Oh, I
Yeah,
love
and
that.
so, like-
I love that communication with the artists. That's so
Yeah,
cool.
this is the kind of like like actually just yesterday we started this new sale. This author called Otori Mahiro, really cool guy. He bought a sports car with the royalties we sent him.
Oh wow.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so like he bought like a Mazda I don't know, Mazda Roadster. I don't know what it's called in America, but yeah, he bought this like, really cool like sports car. And he's like, "Yo, I want to thank my foreign fans. So can you make my work 10 cents?" I was like, 10 cents. He's like, "Yeah, 10 cents." I was like literally like 0.10. He's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Oh, okay. Yeah, sure. Why not, Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
And,
That's insane.
Yeah, so it's that's kind of the like in Japan or like with a lot of other publishers, like this might be a very difficult thing, like for artists to say, hey, could you sell my work for like close to free? Like a lot of publishers might go, no, no, we won't do that. But in our case, like if the author's like, yeah, like I want to sell it for 10 cents, like, yeah, you know what, why not?
Oh, I love
Yes.
that. I
Yeah.
love that you all have that relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Like it
Yeah,
makes
I
it
think.
feel more, I don't know, like I'm super into like the indie scene, like especially with
Yeah.
like gaming and things like that. So like
Mm-hmm.
hearing about the artists having that kind of relationship with the people like publishing their work, that's so cool.
Yeah, I mean, as I said before, like, I came from like the video game side of things, so like I've seen my fair share of like, some publishers screwing over indie game devs. Yeah, like I've seen way more than I probably should have, and a lot of these game devs, like I've struck up a relationship with over the year and years and like seeing them getting screwed over and stuff. And one very important thing was like as a publisher, like I don't want to do the same thing to artists. Yeah, like we want to make things fair and like when things sell, like make sure that the money actually ends up in the in the author's hands.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like our royalty rates like we give like a minimum of 50% of the selling price, right?
Wow.
Yeah, so like when like our fans like access our websites and like they see the price on there, like just do the math in your head, like divide it by two, that's going to the author.
Yeah.
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 That's
At
awesome.
least. Yeah. So like we're trying to like do more things. Obviously we work with a lot of third-party distributors too. And yeah, third-party distributors are great because they help us like reach audiences like we don't have. Yeah, and still like and every official purchase is like yeah, because there's so much like rampant piracy going on. Like every official purchase is very like highly appreciated.
Yeah.
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 Sorry for going on a tangent, but yeah,
No,
like
no.
our long term,
Not at all.
our how we've grown. Yeah, when we first started, we were just like churning out like two releases a day, two releases a week. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Our localization team is very small. Yeah. Even now, now we've increased to maybe at least four releases a week.
Oh wow.
Wow. So it's like
That's a lot.
that's more than double.
Yeah, but that's for our hentai label, Irodori Comics. Um, Last year we launched Irodori. Oh, okay, sorry. We launched Irodori Aqua. Aqua is our non-erotic line. Yeah. So this is where we do like rom-coms or like mysterious, like non-sexual doujinshi. Yeah. Irodori Aqua we launched back in like immediately after we launched Irodori Comics, so like maybe like November, December-ish of 2019.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And then in 2020, we actually launched Irodori Citron, which is our French language label.
Ooh.
Oh,
Okay.
that's
Yeah.
cool.
Why?
Yeah, and,
Why specifically French?
Um, it started out as a stereotype, but in Japan, like French men are considered as like the horniest guys in the world. Like it started as a stereotype. It's like so because like well like the slogan Doujinshi for everybody, right? Like because I come from localization, like I didn't want to limit that everybody to just English.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Doujinshi for everybody means like breaking down the language barrier, not just for English audiences, but potentially for more like multilingual, multi-language publication. Yeah. And so when we were thinking like, okay, so after English, what are we gonna do? And then we were discussing it like, well, like French people are kind of horny. Like there's a lot of avant-garde like French erotic films. Why don't we try French? And yeah, and also like actually the anime industry in France started way before the anime industry started in America. Like
Really?
sorry, the export of Japanese anime, right? Yeah, so like in America, like kind of anime, like I mean, of course, you had like some folks who knew other stuff, but like, Dragon Ball was kind of like a big one that kicked off a lot of the anime movement in America, but for France it was like Akira,
Okay.
right? Way back in like the 80s or something. Like people were like really like France, yeah, France, and like even like the soccer anime like Captain Tsubasa. Right. Yeah, those went to France way before anime came to America. So there was already like even now there's probably like numbers wise there's probably like more publishers in France, manga publishers in France than there are in America, possibly. Like American ones are bigger,
Right.
but and like a lot of Japanese companies have subsidiaries in America, but in France has a fair number of manga publishers. Yeah.
Huh.
I did
And
not know
so we thought, okay, if there's already a market of people that read manga, then possibly like releasing books in French might work. Yeah. And so we started it in the beginning of 2020. Yeah. It's yeah, French is good, doing okay. Yeah, like we're not exactly making bank. Most of the time we're like, like just recouping costs. But it's we're in it for the long game. So like once we start releasing more and more works, the audience should probably follow. Like our biggest like weakness is just brand awareness. People don't know about us and don't know about the works we give out. Yeah, but next month we're actually releasing non-erotic works in French.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
And non-erotic works is probably a lot better to market. Like in our case, like because we deal in hentai, like no matter how many press releases we send out, like nobody picks it up.
Oh.
Yeah,
that's
it's like
fair.
yeah, I mean, it's the reality of the industry, right? But whenever we have like non-erotic works, like YouTubers, reviewers are more likely to like work with us, more likely to review our works, yeah. So I'm hoping like the release of French works, non-erotic French works will bring more attention towards our Irodori Citron label. And then, when they access it, they're like, oh, hey guys, they also do porn. So we're hoping for that
It's like that
for them
commercial.
to access.
But wait, there's porn.
Yeah. More.
Oh,
Yeah, so like lure them in with the
yeah.
with the rom-com and the mysterious works and get them with the steamy stuff. Yeah.
I mean, that's just like the gateway drugs of boy love, right? You lure them in with the cute boys kissing, and then
Oh yeah.
oh boy,
And then it just ramps up from there.
oh yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, like I got a really funny story about that because we actually have a label called Irodori Sakura, which is boys love in Yuri, right?
Okay.
When we set up Irodori Comics, like one of the directors was like, "Hey, like if doujinshi, if our slogan is doujinshi for everybody, like shouldn't we be doing like boys love doujinshi and Yuri doujinshi? Because there weren't any other publishers out there who were really doing that. There are publishers out there who do commercial boys love and Yuri, but not much in terms of things. So we're like, well, oh yeah, I guess so. And then they were like, oh well, you're the CEO, so it's your job to research it and
Okay.
get the artists and publish it. And I had no idea of boys love and Yuri. And like I was asking like my staff, like, hey guys, like like I don't know what's popular with BL now, all that kind of stuff. And yeah, so like I had to I had to start reading like a lot of different boys love and Yuri works. And yeah, as you said, like I started on the cute stuff, like where the boy almost kind of looks like a girl. I'm like, all right, yeah, okay, this ain't that bad. I mean, like a hole is a hole kind of thing. And then eventually, like it slowly transitioned towards works where like they look more masculine, right? Yeah, and I'm like, okay, I guess I'm slowly building not my immunity, but like my interest, right, in the genre. Yeah. So it's kind of interesting. And I think like last year they were trying to explain to me like the Omega verse. I don't know if you're like I've never heard of the Omega verse. So they're like, and like it was I wouldn't say it was horrible because like Katarina, she's in charge of our Irodori Sakura. Like we hired her as chief editor because we didn't have a direction for Irodori Sakura.
Okay.
Yeah, and so she came in. And like, I was like, hey, Katarina, like, what's Omegaverse? She's like, okay, so like in this world, like men can get pregnant. And none of the information she said after that like went into my head. I was just like, men can get pregnant. And yeah, I mean, she spent like another like 30 minutes writing all about like heat cycles and like alphas and betas and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, to this day, it's like men can get pregnant. Men can get pregnant.
Just full stop. That was
Yeah.
that was all
Yeah,
the
and
info that entered.
Yeah, and like, and then we had like our directors meeting, and then they're like, hey, so like, like how's the BL stuff coming? Are you guys like getting new authors? Blah blah blah. I'm like, hey, did you know like men can get pregnant in BL? That was like the topic of discussion, and everyone's like, what? Yeah, I mean, look, it's really interesting. I recently read this new Omega Verse work, and I was like, oh wow, this is like really cool. Like, there's like hierarchies, and it's a whole entire new world I wasn't familiar with. So, it'll be great. I'd love to like publish these kind of like stuff. Because just like how it's like opened up a whole new world for me. I'm sure if we publish it officially, there's gonna be a lot of people who are gonna have just the same kind of experience. And like manga is all about meeting new works and falling in love with new works, right? So yeah, it's something we wanna keep doing. Yeah, I mean this year we actually started Spanish. We've only released one work. We're gonna release another one next week, I think. Yeah, but yeah, Spanish is like an even smaller market compared to French. Um, but yeah, again, one of those long-term games. And next month we're releasing works in Thai. Yeah. Thailand actually has a very strong community of manga fans. Yeah. So we're going to start, of course, non-erotic. Yeah. We're going to start releasing non-erotic works in Thailand and see how that does. Yeah.
That's
Well, that's
awesome.
exciting.
Yeah,
Yeah. Just
that's so
we're doing
like
so much
diverse.
at
Yeah,
once. Yeah. So it's really tiring. But it's all for the authors really. Like authors are really happy. When we tell them like, hey, like it's actually the same author we approached to release works in French and Thai.
I
oh,
see.
okay.
So his work is already available in English. Yeah, and then and they're like, wait, what? French? What? Thai? Yeah, and they're always super happy about it, and they're like, yeah, yeah, please, please, like I'd love to see my work in like more languages, yeah. And one of the authors, some of the authors we work with, like they sell more in English. Yeah,
Than they
which
do
is
in Japanese.
yeah, which is really rare. Like, I mean, obviously, like in commercial manga, like Japanese sales is always going to be like king, Yeah. Sometimes in doujinshi, especially in some of the very obscure ones, that we often publish, like often the English sales sell more. Yeah.
Huh.
That's
Yeah.
that's surprising to me, but
Yeah. Like and also it's like yeah, there's often like a lot of weird like stigma, especially like in BL and Yuri. Uh a lot of BL and Yuri doujinshi authors they used to do parody works or something, right? Like Token Rambu or some of the ones with like lots of hot guys. And their fans are from that community. And it's kind of like a very weird fandom exclusive rule, but like they're okay with the author making more work. They're okay with the author recouping costs to create that work, but they're not okay with the author like making a living out of that or selling more. Like it's a really weird yeah, it's really really hard to explain, but there's this often this like stigma that exists
Is it like the
especially
sellout
yeah,
mm,
yeah, yeah,
stigma?
yeah, yeah.
Like,
Like you guys sold out kind of thing, yeah. So
huh.
like there's this thing where it's like it's okay for you guys to come to events and sell books physically, but like digital sales is a bit too much.
huh.
Yeah.
What?
And yeah, which is like a big form of gatekeeping because it's like
Yeah.
not everybody can go to like Tokyo or Osaka to attend these like BL and Yuri events. Like if you're out in the countryside, it's really expensive to go there to get like a $500 book. Yeah.
Yeah.
So like digital like is an accessibility thing, right? Yeah,
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 for
but
sure.
absolutely.
there's often that kind of stigma, and like one of the artists like we work with came from that stigma thing. And it's like yeah, it's like I got a lot of backlash when I first started selling my work digitally, you know, blah blah blah. Yeah, and
Does that make it more difficult for you all to approach artists in some ways?
yes, yeah, yes and no. Yeah. Like sometimes when we approach artists they're like, "Oh yeah, like I'm a print only artist." Yeah, because of the said stigma. Yeah. And then yeah, so which is like, "Oh, okay. Yeah. However, like some of the artists like we were able to talk to, and they're like, okay, I think, yeah, yeah, especially like in with BL and Yuri, like yeah, what we have to really be careful, even as a publisher, BL and Yuri works aren't automatically LGBT.
Mm.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a lot of BL and Yuri works kind of fetishize uh same-sex relationships, right? So there are BL and Yuri works that are LGBT in nature, but not all BL and Yuri works are automatically LGBT. Yeah, and it's very very tricky because sometimes we have a work that we publish. The author said, "Yeah, this work I didn't make it as a Yuri work, right? But when we publish it in English, like Western fans are like, oh my god, I love this Yuri work," and as a publisher, we're like, well, the author didn't intend it to like put the label of Yuri, but it's really tricky, yeah. So like we when with that kind of situation, we just often just go with the author's intent, right? Yeah. So if the author said, yeah, I didn't make this as a Yuri work, we don't tag it as Yuri. Yeah,
Okay.
I
but we often
see.
get complaints like, "Oh, this is supposed to be a Yuri work." It's like, yeah, but the author didn't, you know, think of it. Yeah, but at the same time, with any form of media, like the customer decides what message they got out of it, right? So if the
Yeah.
customer thinks, this is a Yuri work, then yeah, like it's two different camps. It's kind of very difficult. But yeah, no. So with that kind of thing, when we approach authors, you know, uh, it's I wouldn't say hit and miss. We have a pretty good batting average when it comes to hentai authors. We managed to sign up a lot of big names, and that comes with our reputation within the hentai artist community. Um, yeah, we work with a lot of big name artists, and we treat them well. I mean, if I say so myself,
It sounds like it. Yeah.
yeah, like they can just like we're literally one call away, like one message away, DM. We're always open to communicate with, and we can communicate in Japanese, which is like really big.
Right.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we have staff in Japan, so sometimes they're like, oh hey, can we go out for like lunch or something, and blah blah blah. Then like, yeah, sure, we can like hang out for lunch, or we can get on the phone and explain things, blah blah blah. So that's been really good, yeah. And just word of mouth really. They've all they say, oh yeah, if you want to publish your doujinshi overseas, yeah, then go with Irodori Comics, yeah, and that's been doing well. Right now, yeah, because of that, in a year and a bit since we launched, we now work with over 150 authors.
Oh wow,
Wow.
that's a
Yeah.
ton.
Yeah, and it's a lot. It's a lot of works. Like because they just send us their whole entire catalog. Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah,
it's intimidating.
they give us their whole entire catalog, and they're like, okay, yeah, could you publish like all my works? Here's my entire catalog, and oh yeah, yeah, you guys have the global distribution rights, global publication rights. So yeah, like English, French, whatever language, yeah, go ahead, like go nuts. We're like, okay, all right, let me sort out this data info, blah 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 blah. Yeah,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so yeah, I mean like our backlog, like we could like pump out a work every day, and we still have like a year's worth of works we gotta get at. So I mean, we do have to expand our localization team, yeah. But a lot of it is a matter of trust of like who to bring in, who not, yeah, all that kind of stuff.
That being said, what is the localization and translation process like? Do you contract translators, or do you have them on staff, or
Oh, like you mean like contract out to like translation agencies and?
yeah, or like
Oh no.
freelance
Oh,
Freelance.
okay.
Yeah.
translators?
Okay, yeah, we work with a lot of freelance translators.
Okay.
We do have some in-house staff as well. For all proofreading and quality assurances goes through in-house. Yeah, and we actually involve the author in the quality checking process. Yeah, so like that's why like it's never a surprise. Like sometimes in publication, like you know uh there's often no communication between the author and the foreign publisher.
Yeah.
Right.
So the author's like, oh, hey, turns out my work is out. In our case, like we involve the author like directly, like before and after the localization process. Yeah, and like are you guys familiar with like redrawing in the manga?
Somewhat like
Yeah,
with
yeah.
um
Like layer issues
y-
and
yeah, like
yeah.
not like
Um,
I'm not like very familiar. I just know about it.
yeah. Okay, so like sometimes like something is flat and the letterer can't remove it or something. You either get the letter to like redraw the whole thing, or in our case, we just contact the author. It's like, hey, could you like change this part? Like the English doesn't fit, you know.
Hmm.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and often like especially with like especially in hentai, right? The sound effects, like what might be like 2 or 3 characters in Japanese might be like really long. Like in like the sound effect for like squelch, right? Squelch is like what, like 5 or 6 letters long, right? Whereas in Japanese, it's like 2 characters or 3 characters.
Yeah.
Right, right, right.
Right. And to like max out the sound effect, like the sound, the author might put like 3 or 4 of the same sound effects around the genital area.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But if we were to put like 4 or 5 squelches in the same area, it covers it like it obstructs the art. Yeah.
Oh
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So then we like, communicate with the author. It's like, hey, like if we're gonna like, what do you think? Like, should we remove some of it? And the author's like, well, I want you guys to remove this and this. Yeah. Like I don't want you to cover the face. Blah blah blah. We get a lot of input and feedback. Yeah, and especially like in things like the nuance. Yeah. Yeah, so we want to always make sure that the author's intent is there. So like every single one of our works goes through an author's check, and I have to explain. We have to explain to the author. So now we're publishing like 40 titles a month. So that means like 40 correspondences with authors. Like, oh yeah, so this, like explaining like the certain decisions and so on. Yeah, and
That's a lot of information that you have to like maintain.
yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, but that's part of the whole like service, It's like our commitment to them. Like, it's not a matter of like, okay, you just give us the data of your works and we'll just send you money. Like that's very like, there's so much like distance between, like yeah, we kind of imagine it more to be like a three-legged race together. Like we're all in this together kind of thing, right? Yeah. So we always ask them like, hey, is there anything you want to tweet to them? Like, yeah, just feel free to message us anytime, and we'll translate whatever tweet message you want to send out. Blah blah blah. We're doing like interviews now for our blog. Yeah, we just started. Well, we've only like the blog depends on like how much time I have, so it's going at a snail's pace. But yeah, like the author before I told about the 10-cent guy. Yeah, so I sent him like a list of like 10 questions, and then he sent back 8 A4 size pages of answers.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so like I'm in the process of translating the bloody thing. It's so long. And
That's a lot.
he sent us like 20 pictures. And so like like there's like a general question like, hey, like, with COVID happening, like what are you doing in your spare time, blah blah blah. And like he's like, oh yeah, I'm working out. But like, most people would have said like, oh yeah, like like I'm staying home, so I want to work out. Like he like went into details, like like my ideal body shape is like something like Sylvester Stallone's, and he sent us pictures of like him with himself without his shirt on. It's like, okay, right now I look like this, but in a few years time I'd like to be like Sylvester Stallone. And I'm having to translate all of this. So
I love
Yeah,
that. That is
that's
like
amazing.
the heart. That is.
yeah.
Oh.
I love that.
A lot of these authors are they're all like interesting people, right? Like
Yeah.
there's a name and a face behind each work that gets created, and doujinshi is actually like way more how do I say, like personal, right? So like the biggest difference between commercial manga and doujinshi is like commercial manga is, like you're creating works on the publisher's dime, right? So the publisher pays you money beforehand, and then you create a work, and a lot of that is based on data and inter-office politics. Yeah. So the data part is very interesting. Like, big publishers have a lot of, trend data, everything like what's popular. Okay, yeah, isekai sells. Isekai sells. Like even like the design of the girl. Okay, recently like girls with silver hair are a lot more popular than girls with black hair. Brown hair in buns is better than long brown hair. And so like authors are limited in their creative freedom, right? It's like, okay, you can be creative within these confines, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so like Doujinshi, because the author bears 100% of the risk, they also have 100% of the creative freedom. They can literally make whatever they want.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's kind of the like the main difference, which is really important. So not having an editor, like breathing down their neck, is like really good for them. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. They have the creative freedom.
Yeah. And so like often in doujinshis, at the end of doujinshis, you often see like an afterward page where authors can like write whatever things. Like that afterward page can be all over the place. Like most authors write a generic like, "Hey guys, like thank you for buying my book. Like recently I've been doing this, nani nani na." But like some authors I know, like in their afterward page, like like there's this one author who like started working out and stuff, and he like compared three different protein shakes like in his afterward, and my God, that was like, so much to translate. Yeah.
I was gonna say you
It's
you
like,
keep all of that in, right?
yeah. Like that's the thing. Like we translate everything, right? Like
Yeah.
and like yeah. So it's like oh my God, like the actual manga took like took like a day to translate, and it took like another day to half a day to translate the bloody afterward.
That's incredible.
That is. I love
Oh.
that.
Yeah, but like it's all like like it's easy to just like cut that out if you want to, but like like in order to like show like yeah like there's like a really fun guy behind each of this work like we leave that in like there's this one author, he's like the most laziest guy. Okay, like not in a bad way, he's a lovely person, but like he loves playing Splatoon. Yeah, and like whenever like whenever like when Splatoon first came out, like it really affected his efficiency. And when Splatoon 2 came out, it further affected his efficiency. And like the DLC dropped around the time Comic was supposed to
Uh-huh.
happen. Comic happened.
Oh no.
And so the author, like, I remember before the DLC dropped, the author wrote in his like previous works afterward, like, yeah, like if as long as like Nintendo doesn't release anything new for Splatoon, I should be able to like release a new work, like a completely new series, blah blah blah. And then Nintendo releases a DLC, so his next afterward is like, sorry, the DLC dropped, so I decided to just write a sequel instead of starting something new and using my brains. And then, like the work after that, the author was like so busy playing Splatoon, he literally copied and pasted the old afterward without changing the dates in the colophon. Yeah. So like he sent us the data, and like when I was translating, I was like, "Oh my God." And I called him, I'm like, "Hey man, like it says like 2019." And he's like, "Oh my God, I already sent it to the printer." I was like, "Did you even like proofread this?" He's like, "No, dude, it's like I was playing Splatoon. I didn't have time to proofread this."
Oh my gosh.
So like sometimes like I would find like the English translator, like I would find the like I don't know like spelling errors like in the Japanese version, and I'm like, bro, yeah. And then he had to contact the printers and like change stuff and like but like I think it was too late. So like when he had books printed, like he had like help like literally like crossing out the colophon and typing in like writing in like 2020. Yeah. Oh man, yeah.
Crazy.
That's ridiculous. Oh.
It's like it's fun though. Like it makes them human.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I was gonna say, I feel like you don't get stories like that with commercial manga necessarily.
Yeah, we have a lot of like gaming sessions between authors and like myself. Like we'd have like a Monster Hunter session, or we play like Destiny together, or yeah. We have there's this like one author who draws a lot of like non-human like monster men and human women romances. Yeah, so like she loves like non-human dudes, right? And so like we're playing Monster Hunter together, and then she's like, "Oh my God, this monster is so sexy." And I'm like, "Wait, this? Like it's not, it doesn't even look like it doesn't even have that android shape. Like it doesn't look human. It's literally like a giant frog." I'm like, "This frog?" It's like, "Yeah, his tummy is so cute." I was like, I guess this is where creativity comes from. Like they can appreciate things that I wouldn't know. So, like yeah, it's kind of a very interesting thing, yeah. But like with the next Monster Hunter game coming out next month, like she's probably not gonna release the work for a while. So yeah, a lot of yeah, I mean, COVID's been pretty tough. Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, I would imagine.
yeah. A lot of authors, you said before, like, how you're an introvert, right? A lot of authors are introverts too. And Comic K is often like that once or twice a year where they go to these events and meet a lot of people, and they get exhausted meeting people, but at the same time they're looking forward to it. Yeah. And so when COVID, happened and it canceled a lot of events, like it affected the motivation of a lot of authors. Yeah. There were of course some authors who are kind of like mainly digital authors. Yeah. Who like weren't affected by events being shut down. But there were also like a lot of authors who just kind of gave up, like I don't want to release anything if there's no event to look forward to.
Oh no.
Yeah,
And so
that's sad.
it's been tough for some authors. Yeah, we've been doing everything we could to try and get more authors abroad, get their works published in English, so like we can send them money that way. Yeah. And it's been doing okay. Yeah.
Has has COVID or anything else for that matter, since you started at the end of 2019, so for the majority of the time COVID has existed,
Yeah.
um
Yeah.
has COVID or anything else in particular been like a especially large hurdle for Irodori?
Um. Okay. Okay. Let me start with like the hentai hurdle. Uh. Well, okay. Our biggest hurdle, most of all, like regardless of our label, is just branding and awareness. Nobody knows about us, and we have a lot of amazing works, especially in our like non-erotic side. Like, yeah, we have works that I think should be selling like hotcakes, but because our Irodori Aqua has like 1,000 followers only, and like the rule of thumb is rule of thumb with like e-commerce is like 1% of your followers buy stuff.
Yes.
Yeah,
So
okay.
it's like like we don't sell much. Yeah, it should be selling like hundreds and hundreds of copies, maybe thousands. Like that's how good the stories are. But unfortunately, that's not the case. Yeah, so branding and awareness is definitely a thing, and another huge hurdle for us is education. A lot of people in the West don't know what doujinshi is, right?
Right.
They all look the same, manga, doujinshi, right? And so that's where the pricing factor comes in, which is to us a huge disadvantage, right? Um, our doujinshi maybe for like a 30-page work might go around for like $5, $6. Yeah, but with the same $5, $6, if you buy a commercial manga, you can probably read like 200 pages. Yeah. So we've actually been accused in the past for like being greedy. They're like, hey, like I can buy like a book for like 200 pages for the same price, blah blah blah, and like we're being like attacked on social media, and like, yeah, but that's a commercial manga. But
Right.
yeah, but like so we like politely explain like, oh, like well, a doujinshi is a self-published work. It's like an indie game, right? Yeah, so it's like the author bears all the risk, but the author also reaps all the rewards, right? Yeah, hence the higher pricing setting. And then the guy replied, "Oh, but like it's still just 30 pages. For me, I don't give a shit if it's a doujinshi or commercial manga." So like, I mean, of course, like with that kind of attitude, like I mean, it's probably we're probably never gonna convince that particular person, but we'd slowly like to like increase the awareness of what doujinshi is and like why things are priced differently. Yeah, like with commercial manga, like it's cheap because the publisher has 100% of the rights, right? Because they buy the author's time, right? They pay the author like a lump sum beforehand, right? And then the author makes the work, the publisher owns the rights, and they pay the author single digit royalties. Yeah, and so they can price it like, okay, 200 pages for $5. Yeah, whatever. But in our case, like, when we license authors, like we have an obligation to, send them back royalties, and because we want to help. We want Irodori Comics to be like a vehicle for um, artists to use for their foreign publication, and so that's why like we give them more than half in terms of royalties, which is I think in the publishing industry is pretty high, more than 50%. I mean, because that includes all the localization and everything too, right? Yeah. So the way we price things is like we price things based on like the number of pages. Like honestly, that's our formula.
I
I
see.
Right.
see.
If
Okay.
there are more pages, there are more localization costs. Hence, we have to recoup that localization cost. Yeah. Right now, like the pie for the pie for doujinshi consumers is small. Yeah. So in the future, I think the pie is gonna get bigger and bigger. Yeah. So the absolute number of consumers should increase like within the next couple of years. But right now, like that's not the case. But we're in it for the long game, so it's like, yeah, just sign up more authors, release more works, and when more and more people start buying doujinshi, then we want it to be that when they access our website, there's already hundreds of works available for them to choose and pick from. Yeah, and yeah, education takes time. I think but I do think it's a matter of time kind of thing. Like appearing on this show, like hopefully the viewers understand what the difference is between doujinshi and commercial and so on. Yeah, and even compared from like 2020, like the first half of 2020 and like now, like we are seeing more and more people like buying our products. Like especially like 2021, it's only been 2 months, but we've seen increased traffic on our website, and so on. So yeah, I do hope like the future is bright. Yeah, the future is bright, and we're seeing a gradual increase. So yeah, I mean that's good because the more people buy from us, well, I mean from any of our distributors too. It's like when we have the raw numbers, like okay, this is how many foreigners, these are how many foreigners are interested in this kind of work. Like we can use that number to then like get more artists on board. Yeah.
Yeah.
So like
Yeah,
it's like a positive chain reaction kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like a compounding type of thing.
Yeah, yeah. And yeah, another hurdle though is yeah, piracy is a huge hurdle. Piracy and scanlation. Often like our biggest hurdle is like explaining to artists about like piracy, like hey, like you gotta give the English like you gotta give an official like localization a chance. Most artists like understand this. They're like, okay, like the reason why my stuff's being like scanlated is because I don't like there's no official version of my work available.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, so like we have an agreement with authors. Authors request us to like take down stuff. Yeah. So yeah, we take down works based on their requests. Yeah, and then we release their works in English eventually, right? Because we have their whole catalog, yeah. But sometimes like artists, like when we approach them, like some like really really big names in hentai doujinshi, like I won't name any names, but like a few of them, like I've approached them and I've inquired about because a lot of artists we sign up are based on fan requests. Yeah, so we just have
Oh.
people like DMing us like all the time, it's like, hey, could you guys like work with so and so? And uh, most of the authors, like I'd say like yeah, almost all the authors like people like send us requests for, we do eventually reach out to. Yeah, because like I mean like even if only like two or three people like reached out to us, like there's probably like a lot more people who are into that person, right? Yeah, so like we have a look at their works and then we reach out to them. So like a lot of like these authors, like there was a lot of requests, so we went to go meet them in person and stuff, and we would poach like float the subject of foreign publishing, and some of them just went like nuts, like went on this like rant, and like some like one of this authors like, yeah, I fucking hate foreigners
Oh my
because
gosh.
they pirated my works, and like every time like like, and they have the goal to like criticize my work when they haven't even paid for it. Yeah. Yeah, it's like they bitch like because like one of this like some of the authors like they know English, or they use like Google Translate and stuff, right? Yeah, and they're like, yeah, they're talking shit about my work when they haven't even paid for it. Like, if you want to complain, at least pay for it and then complain,
Yeah.
blah, blah, blah. And then so like, I'm never gonna publish my stuff in English. I'm like, yeah, and it's like, at the end of the day, it's like their work, so it's like, you can't say much. I'm like, oh, man,
Right.
Yeah.
come
Right.
on, man, like, if you give them a chance, and then like, I mean, there's obviously like, there's so many people reading your stuff because it's obviously good, right? It's obviously good, like, people are interested in it, like, like, like the money, the royalties from English sales aren't gonna compare much to your Japanese sales, possibly, but it's still a growing market, so you can tap into that for sure. He's like, no, I just hate foreigners, so I'm not gonna do it. I'm like, well, I tried, you know. Yeah, and yeah, I mean, if this was like one or two artists, like it would have been like easy, but like there are quite a fair few of others who have a very similar mindset where the you know like they see scanlation as like the enemy, right? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like I mean, scanlation is always a very very tricky subject when it comes to like official publishers, right? Like scanlation to some degree paved the emergence of manga, like the popularity of manga in the West, right?
Yeah.
But once a work is officially licensed, right, the scanlation does nothing but impede with the official releases. Yeah, like it's a direct competitor, and like it's not even like a fair fight because like one is available for free and the other costs money, right? And so
Right.
yeah, you know, it's like David versus Goliath, but David doesn't have arms and legs. You know, it's not exactly there's no fighting chance there. Yeah, and so you know, like it's my job to like tell the artist like, look, like I know you're pissed, like I know scanlations of your works exist, but you know, that means there's like someone like really liked it to the point where they scanlated it, right? Like someone either commissioned a scanlation or someone went to the efforts to like translate the whole work. So there's definitely like like demand for it. So why don't you like capitalize on said demand? Yeah, and so like most of the artists are like, yeah, why not? I'll give it a chance. And then when we send them the royalties, they're like, oh wow, like I didn't expect to sell this much, or like I wasn't aware people were willing to pay for this much, pay for my stuff this much, blah blah blah. I thought they were just gonna read it for free and never buy it. Yeah, and yeah, it's often tricky because the people who read it for free aren't necessarily the paying customers, but we're slowly increasing like our follower numbers on Twitter and so on. So yeah, I mean increasing paying customers is definitely a good thing. Yeah, but yeah, the whole piracy scanlation thing. Yeah, I mean it kind of screws with some of the authors' like mindsets, which makes them really hard to um publish, or some authors just straight up refuse. And another case is like I told you before that Irodori Comics, like we try to keep publishing something even if it doesn't recoup costs.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Like
Right.
that's our vision, and that is what we've been doing. Some works barely break even, right? Some works, like I mean obviously like after we subtract localization costs, like there's not much, Yeah, some works are like that. But especially our non-erotic like Irodori Aqua line, like yeah, we have to compete against like scanlations, aggregator websites like Manga Dex, like man, like um, like when you look at the view count of Manga Dex, like recently one of the works we published, like it appeared like they Google translated everything, so like their releases are like super fast because obviously people can't translate as quickly as
Right.
Google.
Right. Right.
Yeah, and all of our lettering is like hand drawn and everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So things take time. It's not done overnight. Yeah, localization isn't done overnight. But yeah, so we can't compete with the speed at which, yeah, but no uh each of these works, like last time I checked, had like 30,000 views each, and like the total view count was like 150,000. Yeah. And I was like, wow, that was insane. Yeah. And obviously MangaDex is like, oh yeah, we link to official sources, blah blah blah. And it was linked to our official product page, right? And of the 150,000 views, only one person clicked the official source. Yeah.
Which is
So
like
yeah.
seeing that information is like it's like yeah, it doesn't help like
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
like
because
we
it's like, I mean, like linking to the official source is like the bare minimum.
yeah.
Right.
It's literally the bare minimum. And it's hard because like look, I understand like sampling a product. I understand sampling a product, like especially now with like video games, like often there's a lot of like AAA games that are kind of like shitty when they come out.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Yeah.
as much as I love Cyberpunk, like even I have to admit that like the release wasn't pretty. It was
No,
rough. It is
yeah.
rough. Yeah. like I pre-ordered that stuff because I love CD Projekt Red. I'm probably not gonna pre-order their next game, but like yeah, things like experiences like that. I understand why people don't want to like pre-order stuff. Uh, I understand why people want to sample stuff. Like at least with video games, like there are like demos out there, right? So like I mean Capcom does a good job. Like I got to like test play Monster Hunter Rise before I made the decision to buy it in March. Resident Evil 8, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, but like with manga, like when you read manga on a scanlation site, like you're not exactly sampling it. You've consumed the entire thing,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
right? So like the onus of paying for it lies on you. But it's kind of different because like when you're like it's different from like seeing like a street performer. When a street performer does like a really cool thing and like you're there with like other people, and then other people are like giving the street performer money, you're kind of like I don't want to say guilted, but you're like, yeah, okay, if everyone's paying, I probably got to do my part. Like this person's like performance isn't free. Like there's a lot of like practice and creative, like a lot of time and effort for this performance, right? So like you're more kind of like pressured into like giving some money, but in the confines of your bedroom or like whatever, where there's like no judgmental eyes or anything. Yeah, there's a huge incentive to just say, nah, fuck it, like it's free.
Yeah.
Somebody else would pay for it. Like, yo, my best friend's cousins, twice removed, like ex-girlfriend's brother buys manga. So, yeah, I know someone who bought official releases after reading scanlations. Like everybody has a story. Everybody knows someone who has bought something. And I'm like, well, then have you? And they're like, I know someone who did.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah. So, but it's kind of interesting because recently, like when we take down like our authors like request us to take down like the Japanese versions of their works. Yeah, and that has been really good for them because a lot of these like aggregator websites have a lot of traffic from Japan.
Oh.
Oh.
Yeah, like Japanese people are trying to read it, yeah, for free, but Japanese people have no rights to be accessing aggregator sites because manga is so accessible in Japan.
Yeah.
Like there's like there's like a million websites. There's a million websites that sell stuff, and there's like varying degrees of like subscription services, like different like pay systems and so on, campaigns. Like there's so many ways to like get manga. So yeah, like and because we have like the global publication rights for like all the languages and everything, the author say, oh yeah, can you guys just take down my Japanese version of my work? And once we started taking down the Japanese versions, like works that come out relatively recently, and just like older works too, most of our authors have experienced like increases in sales on their Japanese side.
That's good.
Yeah, yeah. And so like that's why like piracy is always like this it's always a tricky subject because Gabe Newell from Steam, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
He said like piracy is like a accessibility issue, right? It's a service issue.
Yeah.
Like if works are more accessible, then people won't pirate stuff. Yeah. But like the other side of that thing is like if it's inaccessible, like people will pay for it, like even within piracy. Yeah, so like in the case of like our experiment with like Japanese language works, right? Like when we take down the Japanese language versions, Japanese people are like, I could like dig around all these like foreign websites trying to find it in Japanese, or I could just go buy it for like 300 yen, 400 yen. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, often like the authors are are very thankful of helping them increase their Japanese sales. Yeah, because the numbers are like a lot more clearer for that. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
That's really cool.
That's kind of been very interesting. Yeah. I mean, look, I wish like a lot of people who read Scanlation's always like, oh yeah, I pay for it. I use Scanlation to check it out. Right now the numbers don't prove that. 150,000 and then one person accessed the link. Like that was heartbreaking. Like, yeah. Like, cause like I was talking to that exact author. It's like, oh yeah, like how is my works doing? Blah blah blah. It's like, I was like, yeah, and like I didn't have it in me to tell her like show her these numbers because I like that would have like broken her, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that has to be rough.
Yeah, because like sometimes that author tweets in English. It's like, oh, like like please buy my work, blah blah blah, and people are like, I love your work, I always read your work, blah blah blah. It's like, but like you don't, this author didn't sell too much, so it's like we're talking like double digits, right? Like first half double digits, yeah, sales numbers. So I like memorized the names of people who've bought the works, right? So like when I see on Twitter like everyone commenting, "Oh my God, I read your works, I love your works," blah blah blah. It's like, yeah, this person is not this person's probably not the list of buyers. And then like the author like replies like, "Oh, thank you so much, thank you for supporting me," blah blah blah. And like she replies to like each of these comments, and I'm like, yeah, they didn't buy the English version.
Oh, that's like heartbreaking though.
That's rough.
Oh.
Yeah, I know. It's like and I like that's the thing we keep explaining to them like, look, it's a matter of education. Like one day, like hopefully when people become older, like right now with COVID, it's like a lot of people are, oh, like it's like people are, oh, like, oh, I'm suffering, I'm going through so much, so like manga's my only escape, like thing. It's like artists are suffering too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, artists are financially struggling a lot. Yeah, a lot of artists are financially struggling. Because Comic not having events, like I explained before, how like in Japan, like events are based on like different layers, right? Like if you're a beginner artist, you start off in the smaller events, and the bigger artists you go to Comic, right? Something as big as Comic has the financial backing to be held during COVID, right? They're planning on doing a physical Comic in May, I think, this year.
Oh wow.
Yeah. But all the smaller events have been decimated.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and there was this one smaller, like one of those events like that the beginning authors go to. They tried doing it in Osaka, which is like Japan's second biggest city.
Right.
They held the event, and it was sad. Not even 50 people showed up.
Oh.
Wow.
Yeah, because like in Japan, like the government isn't really taking like COVID measures too seriously, but there's a lot of stigma between amongst people, like by people who don't do social distancing. Yeah, so like right now, like yeah, it's kind of like, oh, I mean, America has it too. It's like like when somebody posts a group picture of like not wearing masks, like hey, like I was it like Kim Kardashian like and her friends like all went to a private island, blah blah blah, and like everyone on Twitter like gave them crap about it, right?
Yeah,
Mm,
I
like,
I think I saw that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like Japan kind of has a thing where like if somebody goes like out on a weekend and they're like, hey, like you're not doing your part to fight COVID. Yeah, so a lot of people like self kind of not censor, but like don't go to events and stuff. Yeah, and which is a good thing in the long run for COVID. Yeah, but a lot of these events just straight up went bankrupt. Yeah, so a lot of doujinshi events are probably not returning, and a lot of doujinshi printers have gone bust.
Oh
Yeah.
no.
And printing companies are just like the doujinshi culture itself. There are really big, famous printing companies that cater to the big artists, and then there are like that. These printers like print in bulks of thousands and thousands of copies, right? And then there are really small printing companies that do bulks of 100, which is very rare, right? Yeah, because like those big, massive printing machines, like they're running 24 hours. So like making like a print sample of just 100 pages is sorry 100 copies is a I don't want to say a colossal waste of time, but like it's much more efficient for a printing company to print in bulk.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
So these smaller printing companies that cater towards smaller doujinshi artists, because the events have been cancelled, because the authors aren't printing books, those companies just went belly up. So even after COVID is finished, right, when everything is back to normal, a lot of these beginner doujinshi artists are going to realize like, oh, there's no more printing company that caters to my status. There's no
Oh,
more
that's-
events. Yeah, so it's actually like right now in the case of like doujinshi authors, like it's not a matter of like, okay, once COVID is finished, everything's gonna be back. No, like a lot of the smaller players are simply gone now. Yeah, so that's a really really
I
tough.
wonder if that will open up that digital market more, though.
Yeah, hopefully, yeah. I mean, like when it comes to a matter of survival, I think especially that stigma I spoke to about before, like the whole BL UD thing, like people are gonna be more understanding. I mean, even now, like UD and BL are slowly moving towards the whole uh digital release direction. So I hope that I hope that stigma is gone. Yeah, I mean, because authors gotta survive. Like, yeah, I mean, very rarely do doujinshi authors who have given up ever return.
Oh, really?
Right. Yeah. It's like look, the authors who sell well sell well. You know, they are rich. But that's that's like a small percentage of authors, right? I'd even go as far as to say like 95% of authors are probably like either hobbyists who like are like excited about like the extra pocket money or like just getting by. Yeah. Yeah, you gotta be like really big to be making a lot of money. Yeah, and so like I won't go as far as to say like, oh yeah, like one scanlation is a lost sale, but it does affect the official releases a lot. And I think as a publisher like Irodori Comics, like um, you know, we try to keep publishing even if it's not financially viable. And I think like like I've had a lot of people have like contacted say, hey, like you guys are doing well. Like I also want to get into doujinshi publishing, and I'm like yeah, like look, I won't stop you. Like go ahead, just be aware that not everything sells. Like you gotta be prepared. Like um you're like some of the sales numbers is probably gonna like scare you once you do it. Yeah, just be warned. Is kind of the thing. Yeah, so I'm kind of wary of the future. It's like I do hope more and more people buy the official version because like right now like I mean not even like just based on our company motto, we are continuing to release like Irodori Aqua and Irodori Sakura works, but there is a limit, right, of how much we can do, right? We have a limit in resources. For example, like our localization team is very small. Yeah, our localization team is very small, and the people like running the company, it's just literally like three of us.
Oh,
I
okay.
So we're
see.
stretched out super thin over various labels in various languages. Um, we're very very stretched out. So like at one point, like like I think I'm working like 16 hours a day, which isn't really good for my body. Um, I would like to kind of like uh, kick back and relax more. Um, and we might have to make like big decisions about focusing on things that keep us afloat. Yeah, I don't want to do that. Like that's the thing. It's like that's why like if you're very Aqua and Sakura sells way more, then like I'd love to allocate more people to do that kind of stuff. But now,
Right,
Mm.
yeah, sorry
right.
for just like ranting. Yeah, it's just yeah, there are a lot of hurdles. Some of them will some of them the education stuff it's a slow burn, but like it'll take over time. But it's yeah, but like the biggest thing is like you just want people like if they enjoyed it, like pay for it. That's the thing. Yeah. And we always do sales and stuff like every now and then. So like if you can't pay full price, then wait until it like drops a bit or whatever. But like every dollar you send, like we send half of it immediately to the authors, right? So it's like that stuff really helps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I know that you mentioned before that your release schedule has increased, like almost doubled per week. It sounded like, and
Yeah.
that you're working on additional new languages that you haven't published in yet, but that you're working
Yeah.
on. Do
Yeah.
you have any other major plans for the label that you want to talk about at all?
Um. Uh. Right now, like we're biting off way more than we can chew. Yeah. So I'd like for us to be able to become comfortable with our current direction first. Yeah. So our like when we first launched Spanish, we're like, okay, we're definitely gonna do two releases a week, two releases a month. Sorry, kind of thing. But we released one work last month, and one we're gonna release one work like next week. Like it hasn't exactly been like the promised two a month kind of thing. Yeah. So we wanna like first like get those like properly done. Like okay, release 2 Spanish works a month, release 4 French works a month. Like 2 Thai titles a month. Get that more like locked down. Yeah, and especially with comics, like right now with comics, not just releasing works, but like the periphery stuff, like interviewing authors and writing blogs. We're also starting like themed sales every month, like
Oh,
some kind
yeah,
of
yeah.
some kind of like joke thing. Like for example, like Mother's Day is in May, so we're probably gonna release a lot of MILF. We're gonna have like a MILF sale. Yeah,
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
That's awesome.
And June actually, June. Okay, it's a very very small, okay, very major historical event in Japan that most foreigners probably don't know about. June 2nd in Japan is the Day of Betrayal. It's when the feudal lord Oda Nobunaga was assassinated by his close associate.
Oh. Okay. Okay.
Okay, yeah. So that's when we're gonna have like stories of cheating and NTR. Yeah, we're gonna have like a NTR cheating sale based on like the Day of Betrayal.
Okay.
So like
Okay.
yeah, there's a lot of like fun we can have. Yeah, and we've spoken to authors about this. They're like, yo, that's so that's so cool. Like yeah. So we wanna be able to like do all of these kind of like make it fun, make things fun for people. It's not just like customer and publisher, but like yeah, just make things more fun. And like America, you have like your Black Friday sale, your Christmas sale. We wanna like do things like beyond just that. Of course, we'll do like Black Fridays and Christmas, but yeah, we wanna find like very obscure Japanese like days and yeah. So like next month actually, Pi 3.14, March 14th, right? Yeah, pi in Japanese, oppai means breasts.
Uh-huh.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So a lot of Japanese hentai publishers are doing like the oppai sale, like works with like big breasts, but we're going like with like the cream pie sale. Yeah. So yeah, we're trying out things. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean that kind of stuff. Yeah. So like we wanna experiment more with our website, like write more blogs. I feel like if our fans know more about our authors, like I mean some of them are really struggling through COVID. So like I hope to like a lot of my interviews so far with artists like focus on those points, like hey, how's COVID like affected your life? And one of the authors I interviewed is like, yeah, my salary decreased by like 75%. Yeah. Yeah. So it's like some of these kind of situations. So I hope like I know everyone's like going through hardship with COVID and everything, but maybe like through these kind of like blogs when they get to see what our artists are going through, some artists aren't affected by COVID, but if they get to know the artist more, like they might think, yeah, you know what, maybe I'll like buy a bit more of this guy's work, blah blah blah. Yeah, so I think I'd like to do those kind of stuff as well. Yeah, while keeping our current workload. Yeah. So that's kind of our plan for the next few years. Look, especially with our non-erotic works, look, if it sells, I would love to print them. I would love to print them, and like, 'cause everyone's like clamoring for like physicals, like, oh, like I love this work, like, please print it, please print it. Like the thing about printing is very risky, 'cause it's really expensive. It's really, really, really expensive, and the last thing we want is to print hundreds of books and just sit on hundreds of books because nobody buys it.
Yeah, to
Right.
have all that stock and it's just
Yeah.
sitting around.
And like for example, like stock might be tax deductible that year, but not the next year,
Yeah.
Yep.
right?
Yeah.
So you're just literally carrying assets that get taxed, but because it never sells, it's just a liability,
Yeah.
right? Like some places just straight up burn books and get rid of it, right? Yeah. And like that's such a colossal waste. Yeah. And so right now, like with most printers, like they have like minimum batches,
Right.
right? Which are pretty big. Some places ask for like 500 copies minimum, right? There are like right now for non-erotic releases, if we print 500 physical books, I don't even have the confidence that we're gonna sell 500.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Because
I mean, that's a lot.
Yeah.
It is a lot.
Yeah, look, I'll be honest with you. The 500 printed books is way more than the number of digital sales, right? Yeah. So if people aren't even willing to pay for the digital, right? The physical books obviously cost more because
Yeah.
there's a lot of costs associated, like warehousing, shipping, blah blah blah, right? If the digital numbers don't align with, like, yeah, like I think often with physical, like the rule of thumb is like you gotta sell like at least like 40 times more the number you're about to print for it to be like viable. Yeah.
Right.
A lot of like in the scene of doujinshi in Japan, yeah, that's kind of like the rule of thumb. So like if you print like 100 books, like you're estimating to sell like 4,000 digitally, all that kind of stuff. Obviously, America might be slightly different, so we might have to like recalculate the thing. But even then, right now, the amount of our digital sales for Aqua and Sakura works, yeah, like it doesn't warrant a physical sale at all. Yeah, so while we do want to make doujinshi for everybody, right now it doesn't that definition doesn't lie for our physical releases. Yeah, because that's literally just throwing money into the ocean.
Yeah.
Yeah, like if people buy it, if people like tell their friends like, hey guys, like support it. Like yeah, I mean if the digital sales are good, like we'd love to print and sell more stuff. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
People always ask for the physical releases, but I mean it kind of sucks because like every time like we kind of have to politely say, oh, like we're thinking about it, blah blah blah. Right now it's just it doesn't warrant it. So.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, maybe hopefully the future will, bring that about, and time will tell.
In that case, yeah, I mean, that's the thing with data-driven companies. As long as the numbers are there, we're more than happy to print it. And
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Yeah. Well, I guess all of that being said, where can people find Irodori Comics?
Oh, okay. If you're interested in our like R18 hentai works, you can find us on irodoricomics.com. It's like our name, yeah, .com. We also have our Twitter account, our Not Safe for Work Twitter account. I think Twitter is like at Irodori Comics, yeah. And for all of our non-erotic works, which includes like the Boys Love Yuri and the rom-com and mystery works, you can find them on irodorilight.com. Light as in Lite, yeah. And on Twitter you can find us at Irodori Aqua, yeah, AQUA, yeah. And for BL works, you can find us on Twitter at Irodori Sakura, yeah.
Okay.
All right. We'll have all that on screen.
Yeah,
and
we'll get that on
Yeah.
screen and in the
Oh,
in the
okay.
description.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah. Well, thank you. This
Yeah.
was so informative, and
Yeah, I'm glad you guys liked it. Yeah.
yeah, I've learned so much.
Mm-hmm.
And now I can't wait to start looking through your BL catalog. So
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I think we're releasing a new BL work like next month. Yeah, so
Well,
yeah, we'd
this
slowly like to increase more. Yeah.
this will actually be out towards the end of next month, so it probably will already be up by then, maybe.
Okay.
Possibly?
Okay. Yeah.
Or-
Yeah. Yeah.
or about to roll out.
Yeah.
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 Okay. Oh, thank you so much. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for coming here and speaking with us today, and hopefully everyone will this will have like provided some of that education like you were talking about to
Yeah.
the viewers of this show as well.
It was definitely educational for me because my understanding of doujinshi was very limited prior to this. So
Was it a very American understanding?
yeah, well, yeah, I grew up in the 2000s with access to the internet, so
Yeah.
my understanding was it's hentai of pre-existing properties.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, like it's a lot bigger than that. So yeah, hopefully we can introduce more of those works. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right. Well, thanks for joining us today. And
Yep. Okay. Thank you.
yeah, thanks everybody for tuning in,
Yeah.
and we'll see you all later.